Another week, another We Bombastic Few episode. We are on quite the stretch. We've gone so many weeks without missing an episode. I am pretty proud of us.
We did it.
This is the 8th episode of season 4.
Despite Brent telling you
last
that the
week.
last one was 6th.
Yeah, we are doing one of those. You've probably seen it on the newer TV shows. They do 2 episode 6s and no episode 7.
Yeah,
So,
it's like the
we're
Twilight
following
Zone.
suit. Yeah,
Yeah.
but not.
Yeah, exactly. When you said another week, another another episode, I thought you were going to say another week, another podcast, and I was like, that's a great idea. We could do
Welcome
a different.
There's a podcast called Episode 1 where it is the same podcast, but each one they make it a different like they act as if it's episode 1 of each podcast.
That's kind of
Like a
fun.
brand new one.
I feel like you have to
I've
go
only
in
listened
with
to,
like
half an episode,
50,
though.
like 50 ideas, and then that gives you plenty of time to like. It gives you some lead time to come up with new ones.
In theory, but like we went in with like 50 hypotheticals, and here we are.
Here we are, having to come up with I mean, we don't come up with them last minute, of course. We still have like 50 ahead of us, always. You know, we wouldn't.
Infinite.
Yeah, we're not grasping at straws here or anything for hypotheticals.
We're definitely not just trying to hang on for dear life until we generate a big enough audience that they can come up with stuff for us.
We're definitely not taking major plot points in movies and then just repurposing them for hypotheticals.
That'd be ridiculous. Like, imagine taking literally the entire point of an entire movie and it's a book too, in this hypothetical.
Yeah, hypothetically speaking.
Yeah. that was just off the top of my head right there.
Wow.
Hypothetical.
Add
See,
that to the
we
list.
got so many.
I guess you've heard their voices enough. They need no introduction. Brent and Daniel.
I'm Daniel.
Yes.
I'm Brent.
I
Today's
was the one
time I
segments
checked.
saying the good stuff you just heard.
are mini qualgorithm, a hypothetical, because what is a podcast without a hypothetical? And would you do it?
What
Bring
is
it
that
back.
bombastic word?
I'm
you
glad
say
you
that?
asked, because I do not know how to say it. Brent, would you care to attempt?
I mean, so
Ziziva?
Ziziva is what I would guess.
Ziziva.
It's ZYZZYVA, which, what is it?
A species of weevil, which are beetles with elongated snouts.
There you go. Plenty of uses for today's episode.
Not extremely specific whatsoever.
I already have like 5 ways I know how I'm going to use it.
I've got a plan for each segment.
Anytime I hear weevil, such as right now, and it's used in the context of like, yeah, obviously weevil is a creature. And I'm like, I get confused. I'm like, I thought it was a disease, and then I remember measles is what I'm thinking of.
Those
Do
have
you think measles originated from weevils?
I think that's the only logical conclusion we can reach.
interesting. Well, so this week I took a test, midterm to be precise, for Calculus 2. And Calculus 2, need I say it again, sucks. But my teacher has us, after we take it, we are supposed to like take pictures of our work and send it in right away. And I'm pretty sure that at the beginning of the class, she, or maybe it was a previous teacher that had me do it, said that I was like to help, like 10 minutes to turn in, and that was to help reinsure that you're not cheating, just another way to make sure you're doing your own work or whatever. And I just was like, I don't know if that's going to help much, but sure. But like, so today, or when I took it the other day, like it was about 24 hours or later, I was like, oh crap, I forgot to turn that in. So I'm on a car trip too. I'm driving, I'm like taking pictures of my work because I have my notebook with me, and I send it in, and I send it through email to my professor. I was like, I'm sorry, I've completely forgot to do this. And I just assumed that it was like, again, for helping cheating, but it was just to like give me extra, try to give partial credit. But the moral of the story is that calculus 2 sucks, and I got my grade back up to a B with my midterm, and I thought I was going to lose it because I didn't turn in the work for the exam.
So, like, the fact that your professor took these pictures defeats the entire purpose of why you send them, right?
What?
Wait,
I didn't follow
did
that
you
either.
wait? Did you say like they are like she has you send them in within 10 minutes to prevent cheating, or did you say like you just assumed that was why?
I think I just assumed. I thought I heard her say it prior, but it could have been my previous teacher for a different class that said it.
I mean, it makes sense that would be why, I guess, because when the pandemic started, and it was like halfway through the semester, and one of actually probably 2 or 3 of my professors had us doing that, like submit pictures of your test and then submit pictures of your work, yada yada. And so I don't know. I also was
that your
confused about how
complete
that would apply. Well, I was like, where was I going with this? I just lost my train. No, it also confused me how that would prevent like using someone else's work, because you could just already have their work and then
Yeah,
write
exactly.
it down.
It really threw me off. So like it was like a roller coaster emotion. I turned it in. I saw that I got like an 85 or whatever on it, and my previous tests were like C's at best. So the fact that I got a mid B, I was very happy. And then I stressed out about that, and I was like, oh, she's gonna make me retake the exam, or she's gonna deduct points from it. So that's an extreme negative emotion. And then the relief of like, she's like, no, it's just for trying to give partial credit. It was just like, oh, now I'm like fully relieved again. That was funny.
But then she's like, you did actually fail the test.
Now that I'm looking at your work, this is all wrong.
No, that's awesome.
So.
Calc 2 was a tough class.
Hate Calc 2. Calc 2 is the worst of the calculuses, and I will die on this hill.
See, I agree with you, but also, like, I don't know, I've kind of liked every math class. I would say I liked Calc 2 more than I disliked it, except for, like, I don't know, in the moment it seemed worse than, like, in DiffyQ when you reuse a lot of Calc 2 ideas, and then I was like, why did this confuse me back then? This makes so much more sense now, and I don't know how that works, because during Calc 2 there were a lot of ideas that I was just, like, skating by, like, barely understanding. And then I just figured it would all, like, get pooped out of my mind.
I fully believe you don't entirely understand a class until you've taken the sequel class. Like, I'll take a class, get an A in it, and be like, I don't know anything from this class. And then I'll take the class that like immediately follows, and I'll be like, I entirely understand everything about the previous class, but I know nothing about this class.
I would even sum it up to just like being able to apply it outside of the class, like just that, or the original class. So whether it be another class or a like a work situation or whatever. Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Dude, this is
I
school.
wish.
We don't do application.
I wish. Dude, I would be
Gross.
doing labs. I'd be like, oh, I'm supposed to use that? Yeah, I don't know about that.
Literally. They'd be like, build this circuit. It's like, excuse me? I can draw it. Did you want me to draw it?
Yeah. But no,
Yeah.
it was the same thing for me. It was physics 1, and granted, I didn't pay a lot of attention in physics 1, and that's probably a big reason why a lot of it kind of was confusing. But then I took dynamics, which was like physics 1 part 2, not physics 2. Physics 2 is very much not that, despite the misleading title. And I thought dynamics just like made sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make a bold claim, and I need you guys to verify or deny this. Is physics in high school the first class the three of us had together?
Ooh,
I believe
like
so.
same class period and everything?
Yeah,
Probably.
like in the same class.
Yeah, because that would have been
Senior year.
sophomore. Was that senior year?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think
You might
Brent, did
be
we have
right about
Spanish
that.
together, something like that, early on?
Yeah, well,
I didn't
yeah,
take
that was
Spanish.
the first class I had with you was Spanish. That was sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay, did we ever have classes together?
Not sure.
Hold on. Wait. Yeah. I think we may have had like one or two.
This
I
is
feel like there
fun
was.
lore of We
Yeah,
Bombastic
I just
Few.
can't remember what they were. I feel like we did.
Yeah.
But
It seemed. Wait, maybe foods. Were you ever in foods with me?
there's
Foods was a lit
potential of
class.
I took foods, but not that. Actually, anyway,
Transition.
foods, right? So, yeah, I want to talk about dangerous foods, right? And there are some foods that that don't seem dangerous, but like they're dangerous, right? Like pizza rolls. Pizza rolls are very dangerous, but they seem like they wouldn't be, but they're dangerous, right? Because you
Right.
put them in the microwave and then you burn your mouth and you don't have a mouth anymore.
And
have
you
to get a
don't stop
mouth
eating
transplant.
them.
Exactly. And it's a problem. All right. Well, I discovered one last night, and that is goldfish. I cut the roof of my mouth on a goldfish, and
That's the most.
Yeah,
you're like
hold
like
on.
that fish in SpongeBob who has every bone in his body broken.
hold on. So like it was a ridiculously pointy goldfish, and I did it like I was just shoveling goldfish into my mouth as one does, and it had like broken off, and there was one point, and I like bit down, and the goldfish went perfectly, so it was like standing up, right? And so the tail of the
As a fish
goldfish was
does,
on
yes.
my tongue, and then there was the point, which was the broken head, and it went straight into the roof of my mouth.
Oh.
And I don't know what kind of like bite force I'm using on these goldfish, but it went it went pretty deep into my mouth. I was like, dang, that hurt. But like I kept eating goldfish, and then like I went to brush my teeth, and I like spit in the sink, and I was like, man, I'm bleeding. Like I was spitting up blood.
That's
And
what I was
so-
picturing. Like you bite down on the goldfish, it stabs the roof of your mouth, and then you have a goldfish dangling through your mouth because it's just buried in there. There's blood squirting out. You just say, "Dang, that hurt."
Yeah.
That's
I have had that
Basically.
happen with
Image in my
chips
mind.
before, and that does like draw me away from having
See,
chips. But
chips are like you're more aware of the risks, right? Like I didn't know it could happen with a cheese flavored cracker.
who would have thought?
yeah,
So any other PSAs? My PSA to the world is on foods is that don't give your children goldfish unless you cut them up first. Kind of like hot dogs, like you gotta cut them up.
Put 'em into a
You
powder.
grind the goldfish into powder before you give them to your children.
And my advice would be if you know something's a bad idea to eat, don't do it because it sounds fun. A la Carolina Reaper.
Ah, yes. Absolute class. I always have this conversation where I'll tell someone about it and they'd be like, "Oh, I'd be willing to do it, but I wouldn't do it alone." And I always think like my initial reaction is always like, "Oh, I'd do it with you." And then like immediately my brain's like, "No. Why? You did not know. That was a bad thought. Get that out."
I felt like you guys were talking so big on it, like, Daniel, don't do this. It's a mistake. You will regret it. And I was like, well, the more you talk about it, the more I think I should do it.
Oh my goodness. Absolute classic. Literally that is the funniest memory I have with you is seeing like you lying on the bathroom floor, like literally he's like moving his legs. So he's like going in a circle because he's like lying on his side and he's just going in a circle, like moaning on the ground. It's hilarious.
I'm like running in a circle with my feet, but my waist is like at the wall of the bathroom. So every time I hit the wall, my feet are running up the wall. And I was in pain, and it brought some weird kind of relief to me to move like that.
interesting.
Oh my goodness. And like I didn't feel any guilt whatsoever because I had told you. I was like, listen, I literally wouldn't wish this upon my greatest enemy.
It was you and 4 other people like begging me not to. I was like, no, it's happening.
Oh man, what a classic.
Yeah, that was a less than pleasant 24 hours.
What
All right,
are
I have a
you,
story.
listeners.
All
All right.
This might be interesting. It's a little off topic, a little strange, a little out there. My freshman year, it was my It was spring of my freshman year, so it was my second semester at college.
Of college or high school?
College. And in one of my classes, we had to, write a 10-page research paper and then give a presentation about it. And the topic that I chose was over a battle that the Roman army had kind of towards like the waning years of the Roman Empire. It was the Battle of Adrianople. It was like something that some people consider like the beginning of the end of the Roman Empire. And
the world.
So I'm not going to, get too much into the weeds of, the details of the battle itself. But one of the sources that I needed to use, it was like primary source, one of the only sources that came from kind of around that era, talking about the Battle of Adrianople. And it was written in Middle English. It's like the later years of Middle English, so it's close enough to modern English that you can kind of parse together like what it's saying if you read it carefully and use context clues from earlier. But it's still kind of confusing. And so like different characters had different sounds they would make. And I realized that our character for Y, yeah sound, back then, when you would write a Y, it meant TH. And then I was thinking about, like, this, and I was like, oh, so when you see a sign that says, like, ye old, it's supposed to be read as the old. And I thought that was super interesting. And I looked it up today. I had that thought years ago, but I was thinking about it because I was prepared to tell this story, and I found an article that kind of talks about ye old as a phrase, and they're like, yeah, this is fake old English, which you could probably figure, like, it's not like in the medieval times they had signs at their shops that said ye old. They didn't know they were old. But yeah, it was just like it didn't exist apparently until like the 19th century as a phrase, ye old, where they just kind of made it to sound, give a vision of medieval times.
Interesting.
And old is almost never used with like an E at the end, except for like some examples in the 15th and 16th centuries.
Was there any...
Oh, well, okay. I want to add something. So you told me this a couple weeks ago, and like I was like, oh dang, that's really interesting. And then I got pushed an article like a couple days ago, or maybe a week ago or something. And I clicked on it, and it said the same thing, except specifically the symbol in that like was just lost. It's called thorn.
Yep, I was about to. Yeah, go ahead.
And the typewriters it was like the printing presses at the time didn't have the thorn symbol, and so they just used a Y.
Okay,
how it became popular, how that ended up happening.
I did not know. The article I saw, it also talked about thorn, and if you can picture it, the symbol for thorn is basically if you took the letter B and slid the circular part up to almost halfway up
it's like psi, but like a capital psi if you cut off like
the left circle.
Or yeah. No, it's not psi. It's phi. Sorry, a capital phi if you cut off like the left half of the circle.
Yeah. But yeah, it said it changed from that, and then it eventually kind of morphed into like almost a backwards Y. Like it kind of looks like a straight line with a diagonal line off to the right, but it still somewhat resembles Y, and then made its way into a Y. But the typewriter thing sounds also plausible, so I don't know. Language is weird.
What's it, like entomology, study of how words
Isn't that the study of bugs?
Might be etymology.
Something.
Vote now on your phones.
Etymology is the study of words. What's the study of bugs? That's entomology. So
Okay.
I did say the wrong one.
It was close enough that I don't have to cut this out and edit.
And you just like in edit you like paste over my voice to like say the wrong thing, and then you paste over your voice to say the right thing. It's like, oh no, that's not that. That's blah.
I wouldn't do that. What are you talking about?
Classic. We don't edit these episodes at all.
No,
Never.
not at all. And the other thing we don't edit is classic quotes to create bombastic ones, such as the one today. We cannot remain what we become by wanting what we aren't. Now, for the hypothetical. So, this is happening right now. This hypothetical we're going to talk about, you could expect this reality coming soon to a video store near you. So what happened is, you know, a lot of world events happening right now. There's that wild bear that was creating a big mess until the other zoo decided they wanted to take it in and got approved. I forget the whole story. There was like a bear being a menace in one of the national parks or something, and then a zoo took it in. Pretty epic. Anyways, this bear, it's actually hyper intelligent. We weren't aware of this until it was too late, but it started mixing together some of the plants in its little pasture that they gave it, and it created this serum. And it was carrying the serum
Where
somewhere.
Get the glass? For like test tubes and Erlenmeyer flasks and whatnot.
He used a banana leaf.
Got it.
Enough said. So he was trying to carry it somewhere, and then it fell, and the banana leaf shattered, and the serum it dispersed into the air and filled the atmosphere. And now every single human is sterile, infertile, cannot have children. And so, what happens? We can no longer reproduce. The end is imminent.
Do you think, like, thinking big picture in a lot of senses, like, just goes down the drain? Like, even investments, like, they've become so... Like, obviously, you can still invest in your own lifetime, but say... Let's say, like, I'm investing in Apple or whatever. Like, that's good. Go ahead.
Yeah, like, life insurance? Who's buying life insurance anymore? Who does that help?
Honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so, like, it happened today, right? Basically.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
There were babies born today, presumably, and so like on average 80 years, no more than 100 years. Like in 100 years, there will not be a single person. And honestly, like if you're 80 and you're the only person on Earth, like no one's gonna take care of you, and so you're just gonna die. So basically, like we'll say 90 years. In 90 years, there will be no more humans. So like going to Mars, why bother? Like.
Yeah.
What's the point?
I mean, unless that's just like a passion that like something you're really passionate about doing is just making it to Mars or doing whatever to Mars. Like, sure, why not? If you really want to do that, but like, yes, like it just takes away such a big part of it.
Recycling, we're not. We don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Global warming, screw it. Why not? Like, basically, we get to say like. A lot of the current problems, we can just be like, it's fine.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
What becomes the priority there? Like what are people's ambitions? What do people want from the remainder of human existence?
It's a good point because like the term legacy no longer really even exists. Like. Because like legacy is either like the children you leave behind, or like the what you've done that you leave behind for future generations. Both of those are gone.
Yeah.
And so like life suddenly has become exclusively achieve what your dream is.
Yeah.
And like
Everyone's
anything else
going
is,
for their bucket lists.
ooh, I feel like retirement accounts no longer matter either. Maybe.
I'm kind of thinking that
Well-
same idea, but almost on the flip side. It's like in the same sense of investing, how much attention are we going to give to a younger generation that's just born? Like, are we still going to push them to want to take, like, push them to them to go to college? Or are we going to push them to like get whatever education when like the chances of them like there being so much of an infrastructure when they're grown up is going to be a lot. Like, I don't think there's a chance that there's not going to be things for them to apply it to.
I feel like, yeah, you would still like educate kids and
You definitely
try and,
would.
like, but I feel like I think it would have a lot more focus towards we need to find out how to reverse this if it's possible.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was going to ask you if there's everyone knows for sure that there's no like new generations, or
I think if you
like, there's hope?
add the caveat that like there could be, it kind of ruins it.
I
So I feel
agree.
like you just have to like there is no coming back. This
There's no
bear
hope for him.
royally effed up everything for everyone.
Right. They did that bear like Harambe. He's gone. He can't fix our problems.
One thing that's interesting, so like there's so many interesting, because like there is there's a point in which preschools no longer need to exist. Like a kindergarten class, like there is a last kindergarten class, a last first grade class, like. But and then the other thing is like you were talking about like would you still educate children? I feel so like if let's say like I am in like 3 years from the youngest, so like there's like people 3 years younger than me, but like I'm basically the last of the last in the last generation. Like you tell me it's like, oh, you need to learn engineering so you can like maintain infrastructure for like you and your friends or whatever. I'd be like, nah though, like the world's ending, like I don't want to do that.
Exactly.
Well, engineers are the ones who are creating the fun stuff for people to do. Roller coasters, video games.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so you have to sell them. I don't think I'd ever pick up a video game again. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. It depends on
You
how...
backtracked on that so fast.
I know, because like I was uber done with video games like I before like a couple weeks ago. It's Lindsay's fault that I regressed, but
No, it was not my fault.
like I literally hadn't played a video game basically for like 2 years. But like I recently got back into one, but like still.
I don't know, because like
I don't know.
like your life is not changing if this happens. Like your life expectancy is not going to be any different. So why would you think that's going to change the way you entertain yourself?
I don't know. It's the type of thing where it's just like it like puts into perspective like what's important, right?
Yeah.
And like especially like playing alone to unlock a weapon that you'll never use or something, which is definitely not what I did for like 3 hours today.
So do you think there'd be any way we could better the world for different animals and creatures? Like, do you think there's a way to like develop things for species that are not our own?
Shout out to
that is a
civil
good
engineers
point.
for creating homes for pigeons.
Honestly, so like what you could do is you could say like either plant like animals or plants, but like try and make the world the best for that. I don't know. Like I don't know if like people would care enough. Maybe like I feel like they're too depressed in their own reality to worry about. But I could totally see some people dedicating their lives, like just because it is something that you could leave behind that. Like,
Yeah, it gives you that sense of
matters.
leaving a legacy. Like even though it's no one's consciously being remembered, you're still potentially making an impact.
I'm picturing like a cult getting started where people
Oh yeah.
where people believe if they leave the planet, the effects will be reversed, and so like they find a way to make a spaceship and just leave the planet, and then we never hear from them again.
So
Yeah.
like this idea does originate from like a movie or slash that was then made into a book that was then made into a movie copied us.
What? It was?
Yeah, it's called Children of Men. I don't care for the book that much, but the movie is phenomenal. I'd really recommend the movie. But like it goes through basically like the one thing is like dolls get really big. Like people get obsessed with dolls, but then there are a lot of cults for that form that like think they can solve it, and then there's like unfortunately like suicide becomes a big thing, especially in like older generations. But like it's just such a fascinating film because like it's such a different apocalypse because like there's not mass panic and the like people aren't like in terror killing each other for food or anything. It's just everyone is just completely and utterly hopeless.
And what's the name of the book and film?
It's called, actually I don't know if the book is called this, but the movie's called Children of Men.
Okay.
Actually I want to throw in a quote from it's not from the book, but someone say something while I look for this quote.
So, people are really going to cherish the time they have with their loved ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to start to reminisce about, the old days where, something like this wasn't feasible. And we're going to start thinking about those trips to the video store.
Those family evenings on the couch watching our favorite rewindable films.
VHS films.
Classic.
Do you
Blockbuster's coming back.
do you think so? I brought up the younger generations and how it's going to impact our view on them. What about older generations? Do we think it's going to be like? Do we think we're going to value them more, or do you think it's going to be the opposite, or do you think it's going to be about the same? Because like
Brent, this is your chance to redeem yourself. On
Yeah.
I was just gonna say it's a dangerous thing
because in theory that is the count. Like they are the countdown of the generations that are left. So would you value them more? Would you be like, well, like they're not what's important. Let's focus on the present type thing and just like focus on what we're doing, or treat them as we typically treat them? Like, what do you think?
I think it'd be like out of anyone, I think it'd be hardest for them to adjust just because like there are certain points in your life like for example if you grew up with the internet you just accept that as that's how the world works, but like for older generations like they're still just learning how the internet is actually very useful and helpful. I think in a similar way like younger generations growing up in this world just like kind of accept that this is how it is, but I think older generations it would be very hard for them to just like accept because like they had grandchildren and then grandchildren, and so I think that'd be something. But I do want to say this quote. It's actually from a Korean TV show on Netflix called All of Us Are Dead. But I really like it. It's when children die, you lose hope. When adults die, you lose their wisdom. Which do you value more, hope or wisdom? I think it fits pretty well.
Yeah.
In this thing. But yeah.
Hmm.
Those are my thoughts.
Well, sports.
I was just gonna throw in sports. Honestly, I don't think it necessarily. Well, I guess it does change because at some point there is no one like there are no more 20-year-olds in sports, like period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and every time they report about it, like this is the last like pro athlete class we'll have, and it's like, and it gets slowly more depressing. Like, oh, the youngest person in this sports league is 26. Oh, and it's just like the endless stream of time coming at you.
I think.
At what point do you think, at what age do you think that like sports would have to end? Like that, like the youngest player is like 46 or something.
Yeah.
Like,
What is the oldest like world class athlete? Like Olympic sports, like which one has the oldest people? I would think baseball gets like into the 40s decently often, right?
I wouldn't know. I will say that like drafting and trading becomes infinitely more
so
like
okay.
more valuable. Just the idea of like even if there are still generations left, they're growing into it. It's like they know it's the options are slimming down, so it becomes so much more important, at least for a little bit, of who you're trading or who you snag before other teams.
I've got some stats here from ESPN.com. This is average age in like according to league. Major League Baseball is the highest at 29.2. National Hockey League is 27.4. National Basketball Association 26.8, and National Football League 26.6. So the around 26 to like 30 is the average age.
Right. Baseball does get
but-
pretty old though, for sure.
Yeah, because you can definitely, like, I think out of obviously by these statistics, like baseball is definitely, you can be the oldest playing it. But like my uncle, shout out to Mike if you're listening, he's an older gentleman, but he plays hockey still, and like he's significantly older than 27. I hope he doesn't mind my saying.
What? Your uncle, brother of your parent, is significantly older than 27?
When I just turned 23. Maybe.
Happy birthday again.
Thank you. But yeah, and that was another kind of, there was like a big thing in the book and movie is like they care about like which country has the youngest person, and like a big catalyst for starting a lot of the events in the movie. Spoiler alert for the first 5 minutes of the movie, skip 10 seconds, is the youngest person in the world dies, and so
Whoa,
that like starts a couple events.
that's crazy. Do you think there are like new festivals and stuff like celebrating like the birthday of the youngest person
Yeah,
in a given region?
Well, that honestly, that was another like I think everyone's just too depressed to do anything. I think like the apocalypse is just depression on everyone. It's a very fun thing.
That's very hard to get around. It's like, because that's probably how it would go. If you think about it, it's like, well, what would you do? It's like, I don't know. Like, what can we do? To what end?
Mm-hmm. There might be. Well, I can tell you one thing. We should make the world a better place for Zizibaz.
Yeah, they could really use a better world to live in.
That's what I'm dedicating my life to. But unless anyone has any crazy final thoughts,
I would dedicate it to measles research.
Well, at some point, that honestly, all right. Final thought. That is another interesting thing. At some point, like diseases, like I don't know, just research on so many things. Anyway, it's a depressing thought. Anyway, super happy episode. But we take a break from the episode to thank our sponsors, Torso-less Jackets. Now, you're aware of vests, right? But no one likes them. They're dumb. Sure. You put them on your torso and they got no sleeves. What's up with that? Torso-less Jackets said no more. They decided, screw the vest. We're gonna invert the jacket the right way. So now, with torsoless jackets, you can get a jacket without the vest part. So that's your arm coverage, the most important part.
Right.
There's a statistic: 39% of all body heat leaves through your left arm, according to their research. And so
Wow.
this is prioritizing the important parts. Did you guys get some sample products sent to you?
I did, and mine even came with a cape on it, and I feel like that amplified the cool level of it by at least 37.5%.
My variation they sent me came with a hood, and
How
never
does the hood
thought
attach, out of curiosity?
By the sleeves.
very carefully. And I never thought such an item would look great until I looked at it on me, and I was like, okay, I can rock this.
For sure. Thank you, Torsoless Jacket, for sponsoring this episode. You can get 10% off if you use code SLEEVEBOMBASTICFEW. And yeah, Lindsay, take it away.
And now we have, would you do it? First one, it's
The way you said that, it sounded like it needed a little jingle after it, like a game.
Would
you do
We need to get back. We need to get on making sound effects.
I would love to do that
Oh, I could activate the soundboard. Oh wait, but it wouldn't go through Audacity. We'll figure it out.
one day.
Maybe one day.
Would you do it? You get as much free KFC as you want for life, but you have
Yes. Don't even bother.
but
I'll take
you
whatever
have
it takes.
I hope this is something awful.
incurable acne on your back. I knew Britt would like the KFC part.
Yeah, have you had KFC? It's worth. Absolutely worth.
Is it painful acne?
I don't have a lot of experience with it, so I would not know, but I'm sure it bothers you to at least some extent.
I suppose so. See, I don't know. I feel like KFC is like a very... like, I only
Careful.
crave it every so often. But, when I crave it, it hits. As long as, like, it hasn't been a while since I've had greasy food. If you have KFC and it's been a while since you've had greasy food, you feel awful after eating it.
I feel like it's
Yeah.
with any greasy food, though.
It's specifically their fries, though. I'm not like I won't die for their fries. Their chicken slaps, but
When it comes to fries, like for me, it's like Steak and Shake and McDonald's that have the best fries. Everywhere else is just like I'll have them, but I can't even finish like half of the provided amount.
It's like, yeah, I would say Steak and Shake, McDonald's, and Chick-fil-A. When any of their fries are
Chick-fil-A, yeah.
good, I would go... It's been a while since I've had a good batch of McDonald's fries, so it's hard to say. But McDonald's or Chick-fil-A are definitely 1 and 2. And then
Yeah.
Steak and Shake would be in third place to those.
Maybe
you know what I just realized? KFC wasn't on that list of like top 10 fast food places.
That's not super surprising to me, to be
I
honest.
don't think so either. I think it's just national. I don't
Is
think
it
it's
is it
international.
regional?
Yes, I believe so.
Hmm.
Um,
Interesting.
Oh no, they know our region. Cut it. Go off the grid.
We'll mix up the letters. You guys know CFK chicken?
CFK chicken, which obviously stands for chicken fried okra.
Makes sense
Cake.
to me. Next one.
Chicken fried cake.
That sounds like literally the most disgusting thing.
Would you do it? You get to live a perfect life with the various difficult obstacles that shape you into being a great hero. But everything you know is a lie. You're a character within a fictional world, and so are the people around you.
Do I know this?
What?
Like, do I know that it's a lie?
I would imagine so, but like that's still your reality, though.
Do I at least still have like a year or two before I find out that I can live in denial?
Well, it makes it seem like you live in almost a different reality than other people, is what I'm picturing. So you can live in this world. It's just, it's not going to actually impact real people. It's just, this is your life.
Yeah,
the way I took it
It's
is
the
like,
Matrix.
yeah, you're the main character in a story, but you know you're in a story, and nothing that you're doing like has any actual impact.
Yeah. Well, I'm going Children of Men. Who who cares anyway? Everyone's gonna die.
Brent becomes a supervillain after pressing the button.
Honestly,
Why?
Britt already is a villain. He just doesn't know
That's
it yet.
mean.
That was a mean.
Rude. All right.
How is it? How is
Let
it
it
not
out,
mean
everyone.
to call someone a villain?
I don't know. Not everyone would take that as an insult.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to be a villain.
Like, have you seen Dr. Doofenshmirtz? That's a prime villain right there. That's a guy who lives his life to the fullest.
Have you seen the first half of Megamind?
The definition of a villain is just a character whose evil actions or motives are important to the plot. So,
Yeah.
at least I'm important.
Yeah,
Have you seen
Megamind.
Despicable Me?
Yeah, these are. See, Daniel's providing great examples here.
You're providing anti-heroes, though? No real villains?
Okay, if you told any of the villains in any story ever that they were a villain, in any superhero style story ever, if you told them you were a villain, like 90% of them would take that as a compliment.
Or just not care.
Like, well, okay, now I'm wondering, do you think Syndrome would like to be called a villain
Oh, gosh.
from Incredibles?
Yeah. I think he's accepting
I don't
of
know.
it.
I don't think anyone truly sees themselves as a villain. Okay, what would you do is gone. It's philosophy time. I don't think you do something unless you believe it is the right thing to do for whatever reason.
Well, I think some people are willing to do actions that they know will benefit themselves more than they would the greater good.
Yeah.
But like at that point they don't even value like other people, and so they don't even necessarily see it as evil.
These are the people who would like be the happiest in our hypothetical.
Maybe
The people
if
who
they
like
caused
don't
it.
care about anyone else. If you're
Yeah.
completely selfish, like you're not doing that bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was a
true.
great
So.
discussion.
On that note,
Would you do it? You know everything in the universe, including the meaning of life, etc. But you can
42.
never tell anyone.
Anything?
So that's my question. When I read this, I was like, okay, I cannot tell anyone that I know everything in the universe, or can I not tell? Can I not state the fact that I know everything, or can I just not state the things that I know? Which puts a
I mean, it
mean,
would be
if
you
you know
can't tell
everything-
people you're omniscient, and you can't tell people the meaning of life. Is how I would interpret it.
that seems like the most reasonable way to interpret that to me.
Which, like, initially I'd be like, absolutely, but at the same time, can you imagine like the complete and utter knowledge that you know, like, that would be so hard. Like you see someone like down the wrong path or something, and you're like, listen, dude. Yeah. Also, it answered that
You're
wrong.
like the random sage wisdom person that they just meet as a stranger in New York City. Like in
Yeah.
the
movie cliche. You're just that guy.
Well, that brings up
and
a
you're
whole,
this person in like a million people's lives.
that brings up a whole different discussion, though. It's like, you know everything in the universe, so in that sense, like, you know the path that they're going down. Like, does that mean they're already going to go down it, and no matter what you say or do, will change it? Or do you live on the
We're
idea?
getting into time travel issues now.
Not necessarily. It's like,
Well, affecting the future. Like,
Yeah.
time travel is a poor word for it, but
yeah. So it's a
can you affect reality?
yeah.
If you are on then, like, oh man, I could literally talk for hours about the intricacies of omnipotence, omnipresence, and omniscience.
Yeah.
I have many thoughts.
Should I put a cap on it now or
I do like. I think it would have to be its own episode.
take note
We'll
of this?
Take note of next week for the next podcast where Brent talks about philosophy. Not
do a
this
philosophy
podcast.
Oh yeah, that yeah, not next episode of this podcast. Next podcast.
Yeah, check us out next podcast.
I would press the button. I don't know if I've said that for any of these.
Yeah.
I would press the
I'll
button.
do it.
I don't feel like
okay.
there's much of a caveat to it. Like, yes, you can't tell anyone, but like, you
So-
can still go about your life and still interact with people like normal.
I think I would press no on every button so far.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, the next one. Everything you imagine becomes real, but every day you imagine one bad thing. I feel like one bad thing is not.
That's so
Oh,
generic.
see-
Yeah. It's
See,
not.
I was gonna say no because like the amount of times random like bad
Yeah,
things
yeah.
will come through my head, I'm like no. But if this sounds like it limits it to one bad thing.
I
So-
kind of like the idea. It's just whatever you think. Like there is no just like a limit to one bad thing. But although at some point, I feel like there has to be some limit though, because at what point is it like reality no longer exists? It's just your mindscape.
But think about this.
Yeah.
So I almost think like the bad thing came first and the good thing was the caveat because now I am only limited to one bad thought a day. So if I'm sure I've already had my bad thought for the day, then I can just think freely and not worry about it.
Yeah, I think if you put that limitation, like if you see that as a limitation, then I would agree. I feel like there could be there's a lot of times throughout the day I'm either overthinking a pretty simple situation or like I imagine something that does not go well. So at least
I
once.
think-
So
I think there would need to be some sort of like caveat where it's not just whatever you have to activate it somehow, right? Because like if I just think about like whales having 5 tigers instead of like flippers, and tail, like a tail, like so their tail now breaks off into 2 tigers and their 2 flippers are now 2 tigers. Like I don't want to replace all reality with just a single whale tiger.
I thought you were going to say, what if I imagined whales having 5 head? And I was like, they already do. Have you seen those things? They're huge.
So yeah, the like
yeah,
I think if you could separate it just like automatically happening versus like I actively want whales to have 4 tigers instead of
you definitely want reality. It want it to be reality that you can slightly affect versus, like you said, your mindscape, because like that, I feel like that is a whole different discussion.
Okay, can I just say, like, a few weeks ago, or a few episodes ago, okay, well, same thing, whatever. We had a discussion about cows for hands. And then last week, for the episode where Christian was a guest, I brought up the idea of, like, what animals... Or, like, no, it wasn't me. Someone brought up the idea of, like, Christian brought up the idea of, like, what if you had some kind of animal for, like, a body part instead of, like instead of a hand, you had some animal. And then now you're talking about whales having, like, tigers for limbs. Why do we keep coming back to this?
Well, I was specifically thinking about the previous 2 conversations because it was just the first thing that came to mind. And as a separate thought, I do think about whales having different animals for appendages every single night before I go to bed.
Do you think that would impede them from swimming, or do you think that would help them?
Well,
and would you see them?
How good are tigers at swimming? Cats like water.
No, tigers are very good at swimming.
But also,
Do
like,
you have any evidence?
but that brings up another
I
I
discussion.
feel like
Whales can
I
breathe
feel like
air.
I am not Mandela affecting myself when I say I have read this before.
Yeah, but would
don't
you
know.
see more whales on land then if they had tigers?
Oh god, I don't think a tiger could. Well, number one, a whale just couldn't like it'll die under its own body weight or whatever, right? But like, I don't think 4 tigers could drag a whale.
Via
land.
via ligerworld.com.
Okay, that's a liger.
Okay, well, I'm guessing it talks about lions and tigers. Do tigers swim? Tigers not only love to swim, but they are also considered as one of the most skillful swimmers within the big cat family. Oh, within the big cat family. Hang on a minute.
I was gonna say.
Okay.
How good? What's the max goodness?
From worldanimalprotection.org.nz, they are strong swimmers, helped by their large webbed paws and muscular bodies. Tigers have been recorded swimming up to 29 kilometers across rivers.
Interesting.
I had to stop myself because I almost read it as 29 kilometers an hour, but it's just 29 kilometers, and that's super impressive.
29 kilometers a microsecond. They can achieve the speed of light if they want to.
Okay, so pressing the button, yes or no?
Oh wait, what was the button?
For a second, I thought the button press was like, "Are we giving whales tigers for flippers?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm pressing this button. Let's give."
We're so
what was the
lost
original
in the
one
sauce right now. I don't remember the original.
Everything you imagine becomes real, but every
yeah.
day you imagine embedding.
As long as I can activate it, sure.
Yeah. Do I have a choice? Let's establish that. If I have a choice, yes. If I don't, no.
I would agree. I think across the board. Okay, I've got one more.
All right, perfect.
You can transform into anything you can imagine, real or fictional, but you go through excruciating pain every time you transform.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna amend this one. You have to eat 3 Carolina Reapers in order to do it.
I thought you were gonna say you have to eat whatever you want to turn into.
I know. That's gotta be
Honestly, also wouldn't
something.
be a bad one.
Yeah.
But there's My Hero Academia has one like that with animals.
Where you have to eat the animal to become it.
Well, like if he eats like octopus, he gets octopus arms.
Oh yeah, that's right. I would do it because you don't have to transform.
There's a One Piece
yeah.
character.
Let's say you have to. Let's say that's the thing. I don't like ones where like you can just avoid it by not using it. It's just like an extra power.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean we can't discuss how to use it or something like that.
Yeah. Well, but I don't like using that as the rationale for accepting it. But like, okay, so yeah, you have to eat 3 Carolina Reapers in order to transform into something.
Eventually,
I don't think I would
like your stomach.
Eventually, you'll get a tolerance for it.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying.
You
like that
never get a tolerance.
I feel like you can just leave it as it is. Like it's just excruciating pain. But you can envision it as like triple the pain you went through.
Yeah, basically.
I think we all obviously would press the button, but it's a matter of what would make you want to use.
That's exactly what I'm thinking about. Like, what would incentivize? Also, like, I don't know. I guess I can become something fictional, can't I?
Correct.
So, like, if I become Superman, do I get his powers?
I would imagine so because
goodness.
you're transforming into a character that has these qualities.
I'd literally, you could give me a literal bucket of Carolina Reapers,
and you would power through that thing so fast.
Yeah, I would literally grind it down and just like, I would ingest it however you need me to, and if I survived, I would then have phenomenal powers. But yeah, so that's my answer. Well, so I guess we'll end it with, what do you want to turn into? I'll turn into Superman.
Wait, so hold on though. Real quick point. You go through excruciating pain every time you transform. So that makes me think after you transform. So if you transform into things that have a better pain tolerance or a better, like a stronger stomach, then in theory it's going to be like the pain is not going to be as bad, right?
Plot twist, you transform into a Carolina Reaper.
And then you don't feel anything once you transform. Because
everyone knows Carolina Reapers are immune to themselves.
But then you also don't have a brain, so you don't have the mental capacity to change back.
Yeah, but you can never be hurt again.
I turned myself into a pepper to stop the pain.
Yeah.
I do
exactly.
I do feel like you almost have to pick some fictional character that's got some interesting, at least, ability. Like, I don't feel like there's many other fun ways to go unless you want to be a freaking tiger.
You could become like an actor or something, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe just turn into a tiger. Tiger would be cool for a little bit.
Then you can swim across a river.
29
At light
kilometers.
Yeah.
Or I could turn into
Daniel?
a whale with tiger appendages.
that doesn't exist. Let's get some fan art of that, please.
Yes.
I would turn into a tiger-shaped submarine that is sentient.
Right. That was my favorite song by the Beatles, by the way. Anyway, that's
We all
gonna
live
bring
in a
us.
tiger-shaped submarine that is sentient.
Yeah, it's a little wordy, but it's a good song.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's gonna bring us to the end of the episode, season 4, episode 8. Legitimately this time. Who knows what next episode will be? Will it be 9? Will it be 7? You don't know. Like, comment, subscribe, follow. Appreciate all you guys out there. But all right, sit down. We need to have a talk. We were a little down on listens last week, so yeah.
Say it
Let us
again.
down.
You know what that
Oh
means.
my.
Tell your friends, and if so, steal your friends' phones, look at their podcasting app and see if they listened, and if they didn't, force them to listen, and then also listen 5 more times.
Force just sounds so much more aggressive than I think what you're going for.
Nope. I mean,
Even
force.
even if you have to
Shove
pay
our
them
voices
to
down
listen,
their ears so far that they cannot do anything but listen.
Yes. And if those people who listen know Will Smith, make them show Will Smith the podcast.
Yeah. If you are within 7 degrees of separation, right? We're within 7 people of Will Smith right now. If you know even one of the connections of that 7, let us know.
Leaps and bounds of progress right there.
How many listens do you think we need to get our own Wikipedia page? I feel like we've talked about this before, but how big do you think we'd have
That would be
to
what if we did a random wiki and it was our Wikipedia page?
Oh my! Like,
All right.
what do you think?
If we ever
Bombastic Few is.
with if we that'll be the final episode, even if we have to make our own. But yeah, also shout out to Mom. But final thoughts, anyone? Ideas?
Random fact: Brent and I saw Batman this week.
Highly recommend.
Highly recommend
It was okay.
if you have the time to spare.
Daniel has not seen it.
It was okay. You don't need to go see it. Don't even worry about
I repeat once again, he has not seen it.
That I don't feel like that's relevant to the conversation.
Right.
Batman was my final thought.
And my final thought is, I'm so tired. I've had a busy day, but this was good.
This was good. I like it. Anyway, all that said, thank you once again for listening. Have a bombastic week, and we'll see you next time.